publishing a book, it often feels a lot like putting on this massive fireworks show.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You spend months and months preparing, and you launch it into the sky, and there's this huge, brilliant explosion of attention. But then, just darkness.
Yeah, you are just left standing there in the quiet. It is a completely finite event.
Right,
I
exactly.
mean, the whole publishing industry is essentially built around that single explosive launch day. And, well, that leaves authors completely vulnerable to the silence that inevitably follows.
Okay, so let us unpack this today. We are looking at a stack of data and some really fascinating case studies to understand why authors are moving away from that fireworks model.
Right, moving towards something way more sustainable.
Exactly. Building what is essentially a pilot light.
Yeah.
A continuous slow burn of reader engagement through video podcasting. So our mission today is to figure out the actual mechanics of how a permanent audio and video presence turns your written expertise into trust.
And critically, how it turns that trust into measurable book sales.
Yes, exactly that.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really comes down to the modern mechanics of consumer trust. I mean, asking someone to buy and read a 300-page book is a massive upfront commitment of their time.
Oh, for sure. It is a huge ask for anyone.
Right, and you cannot just demand that commitment through a random ad on social media. It requires familiarity, because when a reader repeatedly hears a credible voice, a parasocial relationship forms, they grow comfortable with you.
Yeah, let us look at the hard numbers we have compiled on this because they paint a really fascinating picture of what that familiarity looks like at scale.
Yeah, the data here is pretty wild.
It really is. Like, one specific case study features an influential author whose audio and speaking clips have generated over 33 million views.
Wow, 33 million.
Right. And that isn't just some vanity metric. That is 33 million individual moments of a potential reader internalizing their methodology.
Just letting that voice become familiar.
Exactly.
And we see that same exponential scale in another case study we looked at from the productivity space.
Oh, yeah, the lifestyle podcast one.
Exactly. This author launched a lifestyle podcast that surpassed 1 billion downloads over a 10-year span.
A billion. With a B.
With a B, 1 billion downloads.
That is just staggering.
Right. They effectively created a permanent marketing shelf life. Every single week, they are right there in their target audience's ears, long after the book launch has actually ended.
Okay, but I have to challenge the conversion aspect here, though, because I get that 1 billion downloads creates massive visibility.
Sure, absolutely.
But, visibility isn't a business model. Are these listeners actually buying books, or are they just casually consuming free content on their morning commute? I mean, how does a free audio listener actually become a $20 hardcover buyer?
Well, that raises a really important question about the actual mechanism of conversion. The leap from listener to buyer happens because podcasting drastically reduces friction.
Okay, how so?
Think about it. When you spend hours in someone's private, daily routine, like while they walk the dog or while they commute, you completely bypass the traditional discovery phase of the book buying journey.
Oh, right, because you are already a part of their day.
Exactly. By the time your next book drops, the listener isn't standing in a bookstore trying to decide if you're credible. The podcast has already pre-sold them on your expertise.
That makes total sense. So the only decision left is what format to purchase.
Right, you aren't pitching a stranger. You are just giving an update to someone who already values your voice.
But maintaining that pilot light requires showing up consistently. And frankly, that can be exhausting.
Oh, absolutely. It can totally lead to burnout.
Yeah, like the data highlights a literary community podcast that became the absolute central hub for fans of its genre by releasing just 21 episodes in its first year.
Mm-hmm.
Doing that without burning out requires a really serious content supply chain.
Right, because authors cannot afford to spend their writing time managing a production cycle.
No, they need to be actually writing.
Exactly. So the differentiator in these successful case studies isn't just the recording itself, it is the distribution architecture.
Right, the whole system behind it.
Yeah, you sit down for a strong 45-minute conversation, and an infrastructure team slices that up into targeted micro-content for every single platform, complete with dashboard analytics.
Which is vital, because then you aren't guessing.
Yeah.
You can actually track which 30-second clip drove a newsletter sign-up.
Right, exactly.
And which newsletter triggered an actual book sale. It is a highly measurable return on investment.
But that execution requires infrastructure. You really need the right partners to build it out.
So true.
This is where you should connect with the podcast producers and marketing experts at Tim Africa, because they handle that entire workflow.
Yeah, turning just one recording into a full distributed asset.
Exactly. You can explore their website at tim.africa or check out the podcast hub at pod.tim.africa. And you can follow them on Instagram and YouTube at the handle at tim.africa.
And they are on Facebook too, right?
Yeah, on Facebook at the handle at tim.africa and on TikTok at tim.africa_.
Perfect. So look, attention builds familiarity, and familiarity builds trust.
And trust completely eliminates the friction of the buying decision.
Exactly. Which leaves you with one final thought to mull over today.
Okay, let's hear it.
If you choose not to step up to the microphone and become the most familiar, trusted voice in your specific literary niche, well, who is going to claim that airspace and your potential readers instead?
That is a very good question.
Don't settle for a fireworks show. Build a pilot light.
Tip pitches, here we go. Ideas fast, target flow. Catch the vibe, catch the spark. Light it up, ignite the dark. Tip pitches, with a big idea, switches. Podcasters, trends of marketing riches. Plug it in, turn it loud. Build your brand, make it proud. Pitch it high, pitch it sweet. Performance game, can't be beat. Tip